our last conversation on this one, I just dumped down. This number one is in high detail because that's actually straight from my notes. Then I'm thinking, well, what's next? And then what's next after that? And then I got to this bit.
Tell me about RBACs, please.
So RBACs at the moment is I've put in a JSON with roles and responsibilities. You'll see it in the repo, which defines which agent can do what, but it's not enforced other than through NL. But what it does do is switch your context for how. So remember a couple of days ago we were going through, it's like I'm now the duty manager, and then duty manager can do some things. I'm now the customer agent and can do other things, and there's also an implied chain, which is again all NL. Stick up the repo, I'll show you. That'd be helpful. But it's all RBACs in any kind of enforced way, just through Helm.
So you're not. It's not really RBACs. It's more like
it's not RBACs. It's roles and responsibilities. Really.
Roles. Yeah. Okay. So a quick little segue on something I was discussing with a friend of mine today around permission management.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the pains that he was having doing permissions in a large-scale Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And
I thought those guys were all over that. I mean,
well, why is that a problem? It's a problem. It's a problem because they're all over that. It's a problem because the management of the permissions is a program within itself. It's hard because look, I'll jump a few steps ahead and then come back to talk about.
I'm just gonna. Okay, I don't really care if I leak information. I'm just gonna.
You do, but
well, not yeah. I should. Well,
you do care.
In retrospect, right? Okay, that's what I mean by roles and responsibilities. Okay, so it's like definition of a role and so on in each case, and that's got to be included in the JSON, but also you've got the
right. So roles is right. Yeah. So roles is just a hierarchy of who can change what, all the way from
But there's no enforcement around it. And I'm sure it's hackable to hell. Yeah. Well, at this level, it's definitely hackable to hell.
So what I realized about permissions management is that it came about as a general solution to the problem that everyone had in a program of limiting the actions that someone could take based on a set of rules. And it is a form of imperative programming where you, as the controller of the system, concoct some restrictions you need in your head. And then you go and you poke around at the permissions controls until you think you've got them. But nowhere do you write down why you made...
well, interesting enough. This is... This must, could, should, must not is really paying dividends. But that effectively encapsulates the why. The overall intent is also explicitly said. Yeah, sorry, I cut you off there, but that's the why. But it's available to the bots, whether they do it or not, doesn't matter.
Yep. So it became apparent that the permission systems that we're so used to are actually it's the why you're setting the permissions that should actually be the settings. So like, don't let this guy log in on Saturdays or Sundays is what should be the rules. Like the rules should be like a log of natural language statements that have been refined by almost like AI lawyers that define what the rules are in natural language, which is free form, and then it's the bots decide whether the permissions are granted based on the rules.
Yeah, it's something similar to what we've got here. So I'll highlight a line here.
Yeah.
So
So it's exactly
yeah.
that. It's exactly that, but it's you've put it in. It should really be extracted out. Like, I think the industry model of treating permissions as separate to everything else in a system, I think that's good. And so here you'd want to, that should be extracted out of this.
Well, so I like a permissions bot saying you're allowed
Yeah.
to do the thing you just asked for.
Yeah, that's right. And then
Alright, yeah,
along
yeah.
with the permissions bot would be, see, the other complaint my friend had was that in these very complex permission environments, they're running on a live system, so you don't get a chance to test whether or not your config had the desired result without actually doing it and then playing, like doing it to the live system.
I mean, that's a great point. And that's something that we're going to come up with at the moment, because the next trace bullet, I'm going to be using this as a real system.
Right. So what we have the ability to do, and what we need to sort of surface front and center, is the ability that you can fork directly off prod instantly and run a sandbox that tests whether your rules are being upheld correctly. We can then refine your rules until they do what you wanted. And what I'm trying to get to is that it shouldn't just be the rules. It should be the rules, but a bunch of test cases against the rules that you put forth, plus the bot will help generate, so that it's really clear what the rule actually is.
So one of the things on that I've been thinking about, have not done yet, is the reason I put in this overall intent. So I think I mentioned I've created a thing called a scheme, and a scheme is this natural language and then JSON. And the scheme is there in order to generate tests. So, for example, Duty Manager must not bypass your system constraints, and as laid out in operational constraint scheme. Operational constraint scheme likewise has the overall intent and so on. It should, I think, I've not done it yet, but it should be able to generate a whole bunch of assertions that must be true in NL.
Yeah, and those can be run in parallel or in bulk, so they can be very, very quick.
Yeah. But what's your thoughts of this this scheme structure? I don't think we've talked about it really.
I like it on first blush, but on further consideration, it's not an issue with the scheme that you've got going. It's an issue with orthogonality between schemes. So
consistency.
No, they should not overlap, right? Like things like permissions should be extracted out. Like, they need refinement. The general idea, yep, great. The must not should coulds, brilliant. Like, that really delighted me to see the bot making a plan in that format. I was like, God, that's so good. Like, it's
how's getting really fucking useful, actually.
Yeah,
really useful.
yeah. So that's great. But yeah, so just to cap off that permissions discussion, I think that the permissions things that have been made. Are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
The permissions systems that have been made are, if you have intelligence, you don't need them, but you do need, again, this semantic firewall type of thing that's like looking at the meaning of the knowledge of what you're trying to do. It should, like, permissions should be a list of rules and tests that reinforce those rules or prove those rules. And you should be able to have sandboxing that lets you play with the rules and see the outcome where the bots are purposely generating simulated load against it to verify that the outcome's still what you expect. And that's
right. And that part, yeah, that's sorry, go on.
It needs not have an expert. That was my friend's issue. He's like, they have to call up an expert in the Dynamics CRM to get the permissions changed, when it should be they know what they want because they can express it, and they know when they got it because they can identify it, but they can't get there.
There's another thing here. I don't know whether this is right, but my gut feels that whenever you try and mess with production data, there feels like there should be some kind of baked RBAC-y thing there.
I think that can actually come into play for the merging. Like, you should almost be allowed to do anything you like so long as you had read access. But it's when you go to merge back in, that's when all the rules kick in.
Exactly. And the NL rules, I think, are sufficient to stop asking stupid questions of the bake code. But there's probably attack vectors in there where you can fuck with, the bots.
Yeah, but there should. I do believe that with a thoroughly because even with these traditional permission systems, people get weird behavior happening all the time. The system ran as expected, but the user got a different response to it. Like, someone was allowed to do something that they're like, oh, you could.
Yeah, that's that central. Remember when we're going through the security diagram last call and the previous call, and I was saying that it'd be really useful in the middle bit to have a whole bunch of I think we called it oversight or Overwatch.
Overwatch, yeah. So I think that having that when it goes to merge is when Overwatch should kick in. I think otherwise you're sort of wasting time, and and just making it so that you don't need an expert. Like, permissions shouldn't be a separate machine to your business logic. Permission is business logic.
Yeah, but to extrapolate from that, so rewinding about 4 minutes, where you were talking about it should be easy to update permissions in a way that you're not going to fuck it up.
And
it shouldn't take an expert. Now
that's right,
that is
right.
Perfect bot territory, right? Because the scheme of the baked RBACs is known, and you can give examples, and you can pistol whip it, so it only considers that. And it can consider an incoming request at the point of merge and saying, does this agree with this scheme?
Yeah.
You can also use a bot to, with that scheme, take NL saying, we would like to allow the duty manager to change the shift pattern of drivers, for example.
Right.
And then that will be translated into baked code. That's very doable.
Yep.
So it's an interesting point, actually, but one I've not been considering.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what I wanted to get to with your Google Doc here is that whilst there's an initial fumbling. The fumbling phase is what we're in now, where you're fumbling around with sort of how you think the various big pieces of the CRM are going to roughly work.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm fumbling around with how do I get the security model to work, and how do I get performance and the cloud publishing version, how do I push new versions, how do I secure the CRM. I'm fumbling around there. But when you dive into these subpoints, what I think you've done is these are, to use conventional expressions, user stories. And
sort of,
sort of, right? And what they should really be is a stack of stucks, right?
That can easily be translated. It I could rewrite those as stucks. Yeah.
Each one should be a stuck, and what's more, we should have a bot that knows how to read that stuck and run the test for completion against the current release of the CRM.
The identification of a stuck means the current CRM can't do it. So, for example,
the latest CRM. The latest CRM.
Right.
But so these stucks would be running every time there's a new release or a new change of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
The stuck test would run again. Like, so each stuck needs to have at least one scenario by which you can exercise the system and get the outcome that shows the stuck in action, where it's like, case in point, this stuck, I did this thing, and now I'm stuck with this stuck. So therefore,
could we repurpose? So I've got the must use, coulds, must nots, but the test is musts and must nots.
Well, let's pick one. What's the first one?
Which one? On the I've not translated these over.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's just pick one and see if that works.
Okay, operational constraints is a good one. All right. Let's see what we've got. Be valid and internally consistent.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that I want to see that in must, could, shoulds. I want to see it as a simple statement of what I want. Like, show me the customers in the next truck run.
That's not a test though, because how do you know that?
Well, it's a stuck. Sure. It's a stuck because I'm like, right now I'm like, oh, we can't do that. And then,
well, let's try this. This is quite interesting. So let's take this. If we were to reword this one, customer agent can use NL to get state and answer customer questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be something like, stuck would be, I can't use NL to get the state and answer.
Right, now if I was the stuck bot,
questions.
If I was the stuck bot that made sure that stucks were well defined of a standard format and contained sufficient information to be solved, I would say, what is the state, or what is at least one example of the state?
Right, so you need to define states.
Yeah, can you do it now? No. What? Can you do it now?
Yeah. Okay, so let's try one. So we need something specific to get our teeth into here. So,
what if I want to get the account balance of a customer? Is a simple one.
Yeah. To get the customer account balance. Okay. All right. Let's go down this one.
All right. Yeah. Given what though? How did I find the customer? Given the customer name, or given the
customer name in NL.
Right. I think that you could drop the in NL business because everything's in NL, and we should actually state when it's not NL, which would be when I clicked on the app.
Right. So I can't get the customer account balance given a customer.
So that would be given a customer.
Giving some customer information. So okay, so we'll be next in this.
So is this a stuck?
Well, let's just say we don't have a CRM, so yeah, it's a stuck.
When does a not CRM become a CRM? Is kind of the question, eh?
Yeah, no, there's at the moment we've got a CRM that let's take this as a thought experiment. We've got no system whatsoever.
Well, it's not entirely true. We have some sort of a system,
right?
All right. So, without divulging into the deep philosophical issues around when is a rose not a
yeah,
rose,
we don't need to, because it's
Archimedes'
always going to be
ship and
changing.
all that stuff. Okay. Well, is that a solvable stuck? If you were tasked with, if I gave you something back, and I was like, "This does it," how would you test it?
Yes, I've actually already solved it, but without any tests. So I would say something like, now, how do you phrase this? I guess I need to use customer info to uniquely identify customer accounts. Use unique ID to access customer info. Read from customer info the customer account, customer balance, and all that. Return. So basically a function. Could be more exact there. Return.
Okay, so this is a stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you'd know that the CRM could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Which implies that...
No, we're missing something here. So we generate 20 fake customer records. What we don't have is a test. We're returning customer account balance, fine. But then what do we do to check back against the fake that doesn't
right,
use the system itself?
So this was the arrange phase.
Mm-hmm. I think I see where you're going here. I think it works.
And that would have been act.
Yeah, and then what? Assess or
assert.
Assert. Yeah.
Like
oh, you kind of want this to be a bot, right? You could pistol whip a single issue bot. Say, I'm going to give you 20 fake accounts. I'm then going to ask you to ask this other bot to do all this. Then I'm asserting that the 20 fake customer record account balances exactly match between the fake data and the response from the bot, from the act bot, let's call it. So there's two bots here, isn't there? You could get, I'm pretty sure you could get a very accurate response from a bot that doesn't know anything other than, okay, so
the bot, there should be like a dumb user bot. That's the act bot, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the there's the before bot, which sort of does some work. It's a little bit smarter than the act bot because it generate 20 fake customers. I mean, that could be sort of complex.
Right. So it's like a test bot, what is it? What are we asking the test bot actually do? It's like generate these 20.
Yeah, set up a sandbox.
Call
So
act bot. Sorry, act bot. Right. Okay, that's all it's got to do. And then, so this is act bot, and this is the start is test bot again.
So we'd install the latest version of the CRM.
Seems pretty reasonable with a unit test.
Right, but it's sort of special because So this is a stuck, right? Is it? Is that agreed?
Yep.
Does the stuck need more info, or is any missing info available in the natural language description of how to test it?
Who am I talking to? Test bot or rank bot? I'm thinking in terms of system prompts.
Sorry, what?
When you say all I've got in terms of changing anything is giving retrieval docs and system prompt. So when you say, is there any more information? I can't get customer account balance given some customer info. It's just a statement of like, well, who cares? And it's almost like, let me read from this. Therefore, test bot, you are an expert in validating whether a function has correctly fired in this specific main kind of system prompt mode here, specific test case. By function, I mean the following. And then it's the ACBot. It takes inputs, a customer CRM, and a request to return the account balance of a specific customer. Okay. Your action is to calculate the expected. Well, wait. Generate test data. Calculate expected results, being I'll just use a shorthand. Customer account balance for each of the test data, then call test bots, then pair your output with test bots. You see what I'm saying? Sorry, not call. Yeah, test bot. No, call act bot. Sorry. So something along a line of that. So I mean, what a unit test, all it's doing is it's simplifying the test It could be correct or incorrect. People can write really poor unit tests, but what it's doing is getting away from the more complex function that it's testing. So the whole point of a unit test is to simplify specific assertions. In order to test an assertion, you need to know, number one, what's your assertion, number two, carry out the function, number three, compare your assertion versus what was returned by your test.
Yep.
So in terms of a prompt, in this instance, maybe we could generalize it, but in this instance, we'd write a test bot that knows nothing else other than the relationship between customer account and balance, and how to generate test data, and how to call the bot, and how to compare. That's it. It doesn't care about anything else. There's no, by definition, there's no intrusion of any other kind of data. There's no intrusion of any session information. You're testing a very, very specific thing there, which the bot we can run on very simple models, and it will get it right. Well, it will get it right because we're just telling it about. It has three things in its world, right? Four things: test data, the what it expects the bot to call, and how to compare. Is that what you're thinking?
It's close. It's similar. What I'm really thinking about is not how can we run a unit test or an integration test or anything like that. I'm thinking about how can we define the initial functionality that we want in terms of Stucks so that we can attach these natural language test descriptions to the Stucks.
Okay.
So that it's almost like I need to. So the backstory is this is as I hope I've demonstrated, this is actually a very complex problem that these guys have in terms of the size of the information required to deliver a successful product to them. Now, the issue is that I've been working on this problem so long that I am pretty much one of them. Like, I know the problem on the inside. That doesn't help someone like you or any external party coming in to try and ponder these problems, because where's the docs? Where's the info? So I don't want to write a spec because that's not a good use of time now or maybe ever.
No, not anymore. We got bots, but yeah.
But I should be able to. I can't think of a better way than to use Stucks as a way to describe, because you started describing Stucks, what look like Stucks, because they're sort of features that you'd expect to happen within the CRM, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
In our order of what we're going to do first, it's almost like defining Stucks manually is the first thing to do, because I could write these tests, this testbot stuff, I could write it inside code in VS Code. That wouldn't help us because it needs to be on the platform, on the Dreamcatcher platform. And so perhaps the first thing we should make is the runner that can see whether a stuck has been met.
No, I think that's the second thing we do. The first thing is, I think we handcraft a bot with a really clear way, a test bot with a really clear way of saying whether another bot has done the job that's intended to do. And then we can get the runner. So the reason I'm saying that is How much information do we need to give to a bot to say whether another bot has done its job? Now the stuck, whether we state it as I can't do this or I must be able to do this is
that's irrelevant, really.
Yeah. What it's saying is there is a function here that I want, and there's a step that I think first off would be a manual step, which would be to write the bot to test another bot to do that does that, and then say whether it's correct or not.
All right, now, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of this minor detail before this minor detail. I'm actually trying to hit the big level things that we're talking about, which is what is the priority of ambient attribution, the Stuckloop, contribution recording, the CRM having passed user acceptance testing. Right. And so what it's starting to look like is that we can't actually describe a deadline or a plan. We can't describe the functionality of the CRM without having the Stuckloop, because being able to make a stuck, even if it's manually written, and then be able to have NL determine whether or not the stuck has been resolved, we must have that.
Yes, okay. Is that above? Because at the moment, step 1 is I'm the Stuckloop.
I know, yeah. And so you're asking, is that above the CRM?
Yeah.
I'm starting to, from this discussion, it's starting to look like it actually is, because if we don't put it above the CRM, you continue to be the Stuckloop. I continue to be the Stuckloop. How will we have system guarantees that our system, even though you changed a little piece that deals with public holidays, how do we know that you didn't fuck the whole sort of other part of the scheduling system?
I think it's a good question. My response would be, I think there's value, or at least I've got value in, if you look at the repo, I'm actually changing the approach as I'm learning more about actually how to get this thing to do work that's correct, coherent, and consistent.
Yeah.
Once I get to the point where I can do it, then I can teach a bot to do it. So it's almost like we need. This is why the traceability of it's one small part. It's like public holidays, fine, but it's touched. Currently, we've got 9 separate things that we need to track in order to make that decision. I wouldn't have gotten to that point by starting off with a blank sheet of paper, because that's what I did last time. It's like, let's go for a blank sheet of paper and try and get attribution up, and it just went off in one because I wasn't being fair on the bots, because I didn't know what attribution was really. I wasn't very consistent in terms of what I was talking to. So in terms of what we got to do, I think the first iteration, first traceability, I think is a good one. I think the next one would be, what's the next traceability? And let's state that as a stuck. And now we can start to bootstrap ourselves up, knowing that this is a stuck.
Yeah, I think so. That the stuff I've been wrestling with identity and how do you deploy the first system, and how does a host share repos with other hosts, like those kinds of very basic, very fundamental features need to be intimately bound up with the Stuckloop, right? Like that's kind of, we don't have a Dreamcatcher if the Stuckloop isn't fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Like ambient attribution is actually like the royal parade at the end of the war. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. That's the incentivization.
Right.
We don't need to incentivize.
No, and all this thing, it's like the medal ceremony at the end of the war. Like, it's quite definitive in that, so-and-so got the Medal of Honor. Like, it says a lot about what happened.
Yeah.
But we're not at the medal ceremony. We have barely got our guns firing yet.
Well, what I suggest to do then is, so I'm the human Stuckloop at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I've been going into, the text in that repo about what the intent is and what the input, function, output, and then afterwards noting what needs to be done next. So I'm kind of embodying the Stuckloop by the dint of actually doing that.
Yeah.
Once we get through this first one, maybe the next thing I need to do is to do a stuck loop that approximates what I was doing for the first. And we could choose another traceability. Well, a traceability is just another way of saying I want to be able to do X, which
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
like I think that is it fair to say that from here on in, a good question that either of us should be asking the other one is, out of the CRM, the stuck loop, and the contribution recording, which one of those three things is your current activity for moving forwards?
Yeah. Although the contribution recording, I think we'll probably never say I'm working on contribution recording, because if we're doing everything over repos, we can figure it out,
Right. So
that's not the
let's
big one.
consider
It's like basically,
contribution recording. We can actually scratch that, and I'll
yeah.
strike that out completely.
So it's like, is
because
it the CRM or is it the stuck loop?
mate, that's kind of the only two fucking things, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And everything else can wait.
So this is the
And
part of a project that
we're probably going to cycle around those. Interesting enough. Well, certainly from my point, probably I'll go from manual first traceability, do an iteration of the stuck loop, do
Yep.
Another traceability using the stuck loop,
Right.
go back to the
Yeah.
stuck loop,
And at the same time,
so
I need to be incorporating that into the platform. I need
yeah.
to be wary of permissioning and identity. Simple things like scrubbing the data in the stuck loop to say, well, that I need a general problem statement, not a specific one. But other times I might need a specific one if it's like it just acted weird and I don't know why. It's like no, that's a bug report. That's different. Because
I just dropped out for about 10 seconds there.
So the two types of stuck would be like there's a feature stuck and then there's a bug or a faulty. Like if you can give me if to solve the problem, I need to have a commit hash of the commit of the CRM where the issue occurred, that's a bug. But if it's a natural language problem, like I couldn't find my customers, blah blah blah, like that's a feature kind of a problem as opposed to an instance problem, which is like
Right. Yeah, I could find my customers, but they all turned out to be called Mousy Tongue or whatever.
yeah, right. And you're like,
Yeah.
were you doing business in the People's Republic of China or what? Yeah. So
Okay. All right.
right.
Yeah, this is working.
All right. So, and I think that this part of the project is where you would say we're at the terminal guidance phase. We've been heading towards our target roughly. We've got enough that we can actually start to discard solutions or things or activity that isn't actually getting us directly to the CRM operating in production. Is that do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is this the right time to start putting the blinkers on and cutting out things that aren't actively getting us to that termination point?
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is the time. Okay.
There's a hell of a lot of value now. Now we've moved, well, on my side, into an actual use case. Because we're throwing out a whole bunch of things, and interesting enough on the bug, the differentiation between bugs and we just can't do this thing yet. It's stuck. It's quite interesting as well, because bugs don't need to be just you doing it wrong. It could just be anomalous. It could be different
Yeah, and it could be a platform
Sorry.
fault. It could be something underlying that caused the
Yeah.
issue. So that's why. Anyway, I don't think that distinction matters for the level we're trying to talk at now. Actually,
No, we're quite high level, but it's an interesting one to make.
So are we correct then in saying that really the only two bots, or the only two areas of effort that we need right now are the CRM and the Stuckloop?
Yes.
Okay.
So the only question is now, you were talking about getting a date earlier.
I don't think we can get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I was saying, a stack rank. I think we've got a stack rank of 2.
The stack rank. Well,
no.
No. So once we have, so you're basically, what you're doing is you're still poking at CRM examples, but you are being the Stuckloop and you are appraising manually if it's good and all that.
Yep.
That mode of operation is like a junior coder that's come along and doesn't know about unit testing yet, because that's just where we are right now. We don't know enough about the system, right? But we have to transition to get to production. The keyword being the CRM operating in production. To get to production, we need repeatability, and repeatability comes from automated tests. And so, whilst you're poking around at the CRM, you need the Stuckloop to be able to define our functionality in terms of stucks, and also to be able to attach to them repeatability tests to ensure that the whole system, every part of it, works as intended, because you can exercise it before handing it to the customer.
Yeah.
Right? And so you need to make the bots that do either of those two things, Stuckloop botting or CRM botting, and I need to work on the platform underneath that gives you Stuckloop running and CRM running inside that platform, which is the same platform that we're going to deliver to the customer on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
this is what I was saying about the there's only 2 things I really should be considering at the moment.
Yeah, but you then went on to talk about a stack rank and a deadline, and that's what I want to redefine. Once we have the Stuckloop and once we have the CRM, there will come a time where we have defined what the production version of the CRM looks like in terms of stucks. That is the time that we can rank those, and that is the time that we can assign times to them, and that's the time when we can commit to a deadline, because we can say that if we crunch this whole stack of stuff, this whole stack of stucks, then you will have the production CRM. Right?
Yep. Is there value in adding into the definition of what the production CRM is in terms of helps as opposed to stucks? Stucks is what you can't do. You could give a whole bunch of stucks without saying, it can do anything.
In our language, we would say that once all these stucks are resolved, then you have the CRM.
Okay, so we'd have a bin of stucks, and we say, okay,
we'd have a bin of unsolved stucks.
Yeah,
and we'd be transitioning them to solved stucks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That works. Yeah.
Now I'll admit that help is a more accurate name for it, but I really just want to find a way that we can use the language to hold stuck as the unit, because it starts as stuck with null help and it ends as stuck with acceptable help, where there could be many helps. So it's not the helps that define the system, because the helps might already exist out there for all we know. It's the collection of the stucks that you agree on, that if all these stucks were resolved,
yes, you're absolutely right.
That's the CRM.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And why do they care about? It's black box, right? A stuck resolution is a black box.
Right. It's not. It's about the what do you want, how we do it. Do you really fucking care? Like, yeah. So
Okay.
if we can actually present to them a stack of stucks, and they have played with it, we have played with it, and we're like, this is going to be version 1 of the CRM. We resolve all those stucks, then give them that system, they play with it, and then at some point we're going to arrive on what we think is the definitive version of stucks, that if they were all solved, these guys are ready to rock.
Right. So there's two buckets of stucks we need to consider, though. The one you just described, which is the Ready to Rock CRM. The second is the stucks that we're going to discover when we implement the Stuckloop.
Correct. That's all part of the stuck stack.
Yeah. So there's basically two buckets, and this is for now probably how we should be measuring ourselves.
Right.
And there's a kind of producer-consumer problem, is it growing?
Right. So we can, if we're clocking ourselves against this, then we can start to get a notion of, okay, how many new stucks came about? Like, are we in liftoff mode where there's like every stuck we solve makes 3 more? Or are we in descent mode where we're finding the opposite? We're closing one stuck, closes several others that were also around.
Okay, all right. So there's a really here's a proposal then. So this first iteration of the CRM has been manual, unnecessary to get my head around. Now, the next thing I think I was mentioning, the next thing I'm going to be doing today is to use that and try and fire a few quite reasonable things through it. That will generate either bug stucks, we'll call them all stucks.
Let's not care about that. And it's going to generate
a stack of stucks.
And they're going to be a mixture between things that are internal to us and things that are directly part of the CRM.
And then my next job after that will be to get a bot that can take one of those, generate something useful as far as a unit test, but not try and solve it. It should fail to start with.
Right.
Then go back into the CRM, try and solve it, then run the unit test. And once the stuck passes, then happy days. Move on to the next one and the next one, and iterate around that. Now, I suggest we don't extend it into using anything else other than HAL to improve the CRM right now.
I don't think. Look, that's entirely up to you. It's not even really on the cards to use another way. I mean, it's up to you.
I don't think there's any point in constraining it. I was just in case you were thinking I was going to be doing that. So the cycle is I'm going to run a few what seems to me reasonable things you'd want to do with a CRM through what we got right now and committee. I'll generate a list of stucks based on observations about, and I'll take those lists of stucks, try and look to see what the commonalities are and what the structure of a test bot would be. Generate the test bot, run it, and it should fail. Then go back to the CRM. I'll take the first stuck and manually try and fix it. Once I think it's fixed, run the test bot, and it should pass.
Okay, man, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Okay. Happy with that. And then it's just a matter of looping around that. And actually, when we're looping, what I should be really spending kind of thought time on is how to get that stuck loop as opposed to the CRM. Because once we get the stuck loop, then we get something close to production. Because If I concentrate on CRM as the counter argument, then sure, we could get something up, but we wouldn't be certain, and
we'd have no repeatability. We'd have no quality.
Frangible.
We'd have no quality. The stucks are the key to quality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, happy with that. Yeah, and I'll just loop around that. And so what I should be reporting is new stucks, and
oh, dude, we're so close to metrics, man. I fucking tell you. Because as soon as I can get... You still here? You froze. Hey, buddy, you back? You sound mad. Can you hear me? Hello? I can hear you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Back. I'm back.
Why did that happen?
Oh, excellent. I'm not sure. Every now and again, what I get is it cuts off about 180 degrees of my vision, and I can't hear anything, and you are just frozen. But you can hear me, which is weird.
Is your space on your headset sufficient?
My space?
Free space.
What, as in 3D space ahead of me? Yeah.
No. Your headset storage.
Oh, all right. God, I haven't checked that for a while. Don't know. I'll check that after this.
Yeah, that's because you and we have the same headset, and I don't get that. Plus, I'm carrying the computational load of recording. I don't get anything like what you're having. It must be something funny on your side there.
And I don't think it's knockout through Euro and Starlink.
Right.
Because it never happens with anything else.
Right.
All right, I'll do another call.
Well, an interruption in the network should not cause your spatial vision to be affected.
Right, and it does go into. Have you ever seen this mode I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's like the world sort of splits in half, and you're sort of locked, and you turn your head, and it doesn't respond.
There's kind of a glitchy line thing.
Yeah. So you should be running operating system version 64 right now, and 65 is being rolled out gradually around the world. So I'm pretty sure you get auto updates, but just check that.
I'll check for that. I do it whenever they propose.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying was I'm quite excited because it's starting to feel like we're awfully close to metrics, because as soon as I can get you the Stuckloop running on platform, then you can do things like run a report that says how many new stucks were created today. You can run a report that says find duplicate stucks, or find stucks that could be merged into one.
For the shits and giggles of it, I'd probably write a bot to say, given all the amount of time that I've actually taken to solve previous stucks, look at the future stucks and give me an idea about how these.
That's right. And that should be running all the time whenever there's been any changed data. It's like, well, here's the updated plan. And that's really the thing that we should start to get into the deadline forecasting, because once that calculation becomes sensible, like we can look at it and take it seriously, and once that date is sometime this century or something, something usable, and it doesn't, it's we do a fair bit of system change and we notice it's not really fluctuating all that much, then we're like, okay, man, I think we're fucking ready to commit to something, and then just
fucking
go for it. right?
Okay. Now, so the
And that, I
practical
just want to
thing.
add, because of the urgency of our situation, that might be worth a trip, like a physical trip, to meet up somewhere and just get
Yeah.
that thing done. If we can say what if we're like, here's our deadline, here's our reasoning behind it, here's our tooling. Now it's just a case of fucking solving all these problems. It might pay to just turn up somewhere in the middle, like fucking Houston or somewhere, and then
Buenos
just
Aires. Or, yeah.
just go fucking nuts and get it done.
Okay. Well, let's think of. Yeah, I'm up for that. What I'd like to do is to go around a couple cycles
Yeah.
of this.
Yep.
Because right. Okay. So just to be clear, what I'm doing is iterating the CRM and
Right.
iterating stocks, two
Right.
separate systems.
Right.
Each have their own bucket of stocks,
Yep.
and I'll report on the Stuckloop itself as the more important one. Get with the understanding that as the stocks in the Stuckloop reduce, the stocks in the CRM itself should also reduce. So priority in terms of stack rank is the stocks and the stock cycle, and reporting the number of stocks in the stock cycle, and the CRM is the instance that is it's the test instance, right? It's more than that, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah. Like we only need enough Stuckloop to be able to finish or deliver the CRM.
Right. Okay, good.
This is gonna be fucking sweet. I can see the Stuckloop is plausible, feasible, buildable now with the amount of code, with the amount of cloud platform that we have, and the amount of bot expertise and understanding that we have. We can make the Stuckloop, and it can help us immensely with our work, with our workflow. Like.
Exactly, and what would be really cool is actually the point where the Stuckloop gets competent enough to incorporate your stuff into it.
Yeah, that's probably it's probably the same time. Like as soon as we can turn on a version of the Stuckloop that we trust, and we're able to commit to its persistence, then I can just start using it for all the stuff to do with the Deno deploy piece as well.
Yeah, but also the idea that we'll have you have a bunch of tests that you've got in hand. Those are skills that we can hand to a general purpose stuck bot that fire off and either fail or succeed.
Yeah,
as part of the entire stack.
Yeah, because I can actually I can convert some of my actual JavaScript code tests to be commanded by an NL bot, so that it can use the Stuckloop to run actual code tests and report back on those.
Right, and to start with, that would be real simple. It would be just giving a bot an access to kick off a unit test and come back with a yes or no, and then report a yes or no.
Right.
But what we're doing there is we're incorporating the same Stuckloop every time. So when you make a change, we know whether the CRM's broken. If I make a change, we know whether the CRM's broken, which is really
right. And we also know that the cloud deployment is broken because the Stucks, for a new cloud deployment to occur using the current cloud deployment, all the Stucks have to pass on the next version before it gets promoted to production.
Right, but something that is going to come up, which I'm anticipating, is a change you make makes one of the bots do something weird.
Yeah, right. And if we can run all of the if I want to release a new version of the platform, it should run all the bot tests as well as all the baked code tests,
absolutely.
and only then it's like the production version is ready for upgrade, and you're like, go, and then
right, yeah, and we can run that as often as we want to spend tokens.
Yeah.
So, for example, if users use it, we could even include live data into that. Users use it, there would be, I would expect Stucks to also cover user interaction, because I'm considering a user as another bot.
Mm.
And so if they put in something weird and it fails, that should also kick up. So every time there is a stuck or there's a session by an end user, we identify stucks. We run the consistency of the stucks between themselves. Dedupe, but also does this stuck mean that something further down actually also is problematic now? And we do that pass go. Right, okay. That works.
It's taking shape, right?
I think that works. Okay. All right. So my work now is I'm going to continue with, because I'm so close to the manual first traceability. I'm going to generate, the reason I'm going to be doing that is to generate a bunch of stucks. I'll stick it on the repo somewhere.
Okay.
And then the next iteration will be, how do we get these test bots together to run and rerun the CRM and say whether it's failed or succeeded on each of the stucks. It should fail for all the stucks that I've identified.
Yep.
And then go back to the CRM, and then what you should see is at least one goes green. And then iterate from there. All right. Yeah.
That's the Stuckloop.
They all come down to stucks. Yeah.
That is the Stuckloop.
Well, the reason I love the Stuckloop so much, it just embodies that whole thing. It's like the most interesting thing you can ever say is, that's odd. Should have done that. Okay.
That is fucking interesting.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. So today I would expect to get a list of my NL observation stucks out of the what we've got now is, I think,
right,
something that should be able to pass that first traceability with me trying to mess with it.
Okay.
So that's
the format I'm thinking of doing for the Stuckloop is that the stucks is going to be one file per stuck. At the moment, I might expand that out to one folder per stuck if we end up with more stuff in there than is required. But at the moment, so definitely at least one file per stuck. Possibly, if you find that you need more, then by all means use more. But in my head, what I've figured out is that the get data format is reasonably good up to around about 1,000 files in a folder, but thankfully you can expand that forever by making folders, so effectively sharding the data set. So if we had 1 million stucks, I'd probably make 1,000 folders of 1,000 stucks. Right. And then to get to 1 billion, I'd make 1,000 folders of 1,000 folders of 1,000 stucks.
Sure. And you just want some kind of semantic reason why you're sharding in that way?
No, the sharding would be based on the hash of the some sort of a unique identifier of the stuck. So the
okay.
And why I'm bringing this up is that I think that list is a universal list. Like everyone can publish it, and the the Stuck has this unique identifier that's a cryptographic identifier, like a hash of the first thing or a self-generated signature or something unique. And the point is that you can keep these private. You can list them on different hosting services because, you know, a white supremacist Stuck probably has no place on, you know, like there'll be niche Stucks that people are like, sorry.
I don't know, maybe white supremacists need a CRM.
They probably have one. I mean, they made themselves a social network. Why wouldn't they have a CRM? So, the point is that a Stuck needs to have a universal identity, and I'm not sure that it warrants having its own repo, but I'm not sure. It definitely warrants its own file.
From my side, the thing I can see at the moment is that there is probably quite good utility in having some kind of semantic search of all the Stucks. For example, you know, white supremacists want a CRM.
Yeah. So, and the way that I was planning to handle semantic search is that we would build up live indices that sort of, so say you've got one file per Stuck, there would be a bot whose job it was to maintain a single file that represented an index of a summary of all the Stucks, for example.
And could recreate it based on whatever you feel like. You know, it's like, you know,
right. You can change your criteria for the index, and this thing will make it. So even if you've got 1 billion Stucks, you'd have these index files that themselves would be sharded, but they wouldn't be sharded 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000. They'd be sharded like, you know, a megabyte per. They'd be sharded into like, say 10 1 megabyte files or something like that.
Exactly like sharding on any kind of large database.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we can have a debate once we have more information. We can figure out what's the correct embodiment of a Stuck. Is it a repo? Is it a file? Is it a folder? It may be the answer is all of them, and it just depends on what life cycle or purpose or how heavy the Stuck is. Who knows? But that is just to let you know that is the inside issues with Stucks that I'm trying to reconcile with, which is that they should be shareable with all or none. They should be splittable, like you can have some on this hosting service, some on this one. They should be like a totally independent unit, but that doesn't mean it has to be an independent file. It just means that it needs to at least be one file.
Yeah.
And
now I don't know yet, but I think probably there's going to be some utility in asking a question like, who has a similar Stuck? That's
the number one utility, I would have thought.
Well, that's probably less useful for us at the moment than the next stage when we talk about helps. It's like, who has a similar help?
No, man. Like right now, I can assure you that whilst I have several hundred tickets filed against Artifact that I've sort of used to keep track of things that I know I need to fix, they are duplicated, but I don't have the brain power to figure out how.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. That who has it's not even dedupe. It's vector proximity.
Nearness.
Yeah.
Nearness, right? Because nearness indicates possibly the same. One help can wipe out several.
Yeah. Right. You're saying you've got all this tickets. You don't have the time to go through it and run a bot, and you got 2-3 flags that go. These two are very similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All so right. Just to close that out, I feel like I didn't say it expressly, but I imagine that we will have a single global Dreamcatcher store of Stucks of all kinds, of all descriptions. People are free to make forks and their own versions and things like that, but we will always strive to maintain the biggest, most concisely curated list of Stucks on the planet. We will aim to have the most escrow dollars locked against our Stucks in incentivizing their solution, and we will endeavor to have the largest throughput of royalty payments going through those Stucks for their continued reuse. That's what the Dreamcatcher builds.
Good. And the mirror side of that, when we're talking about the Stuck, and we'll see when I actually do this, but I'm imagining a Stuck includes some kind of overall semantic intent. It includes some hard requirements. It's a single use.
There's a format that you will discover for it. It's got a scope.
Exactly.
And
is that kind of arrange, act, assert model with a wrapper that is a semantic wrapper that allows discoverability and can be run every time.
Right. Yeah. Like it probably has a title. It's probably got a bit of a bit more wordy description. It would be able to have children. It would have parents. It would have related Stucks.
Well, yeah, because a Stuck could rely on at the point it's being run, because Stucks kind of give birth to tests, and those tests can rely on a hierarchy of other tests in order to be overall correct.
Yep. And so here's an interesting thought experiment for you. If the CRM itself was defined as a single Stuck, and then all the Stucks that were required to get it into production were children of that one, a thought experiment is to figure out what would you define the top level Stuck as. Because you could break it down into banking management, route management, customer management, addresses. You could break these things down in terms of Stucks, and then you could version these Stucks, like saying version 1 is this Stuck and this collection of Stucks. Version 2 now has the ability to be used on Android tablets in the trucks themselves, because the Stuck is, I have to train drivers to know roads when, or no driver can switch between trucks because the routes are different. Things like that. And so I suspect you can define entirely a product or a build cycle just by some very, very top level Stucks all the way down.
Yes, Stucks all the way down. The top level. Well, let's a thought experiment. How much time you got?
1 hour.
Okay. As a thought experiment on that, let's, instead of calling it CRM, call it a widget. I need a widget, and the widget needs to. I don't know. My Stuck for this widget that I need is I need clean windows. Now that is a valid Stuck. Now, as you define the Stuck, there are a couple things here, isn't it? Either someone with, who is interested in this can assert something. In order to get your windows clean, you need windows. In order to get your windows cleaned, you need soap, you need hot water. Fine. You need to find a window cleaner. Fine. And so you can assert these things. And each of them can be tested independently. There is another way, which is you can try and use this thing as saying, I want to hire, I want to have my windows cleaned on Wednesday. And it's like, can't do that. So you can assert what actually you mean by the widget, which is the very top level, very little information. You can assert what you need from it, but also you can try and use it and fail to use it, and that is also another Stuck. And so this hierarchy of these two, I think, is all we need in order to
right. But it doesn't really matter what the origin of the Stuck was, right? It just matters that like what you're talking about there is quite useful in that like you can present something to a customer because you and them both think that it does the widget thing, and then they go to use it and they're like, oh, no. But they didn't know that before they started to use it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And this is the problem with software, obviously, is trying to figure out what actually it's going to be used for before anyone uses it.
Right, which is impossible and stupid and time consuming, right?
Yeah.
So the point I was trying to make is that you could, first of all, define a project or get a project started using Stux alone, but you could see the growth of the project by the level of detail of the Stux, because we know for a fact that that top level Stuck is not enough. And so when you get into actual serious activity, you start to generate more Stucks at a lower and lower level as the hierarchy gets deeper. And so you can even, present progress using Stucks. And
it's an interesting one, isn't it? What should happen? Okay, this is definitely going into the kind of musing philosophical, but it should be a bit of a bell curve, right? In terms of Stuck generation versus Stuck resolution. As any particular jitter or application gets more and more useful. And that standard distribution, there might be ups and downs, and then we figure out actually someone's trying to do something that this was never designed for, so there's more Stucks and then there's less pure Stucks and so on. But there should be some kind of standard distribution there, it feels like.
I don't know if it's standard, but I think the thing that you're thinking about there is a burn down chart.
It's sort of like a burn down chart, yeah.
Well,
I'm not a particular fan of burn down charts, mind you, because they obfuscate quite a lot of information.
Yeah, but you're talking about a burn down chart.
Yeah. See, no. Yeah, but the thing with the burn down chart is, you can add stuff. And then
but the curve I think that's missing from a burn down is the ramp up, like the burn up, like the.
Look at these. Some of task. They started off with what was that, 30? No,
yeah. But so at the start you start with 1, and then on the first day it's like bang 20. And then it's like higher and higher. And the thing we want to know is, where is the crescendo? Like, where is the rate of closure faster than the rate of addition? And then that's where it goes into the downwards sort of trend, right? Like, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, sort of. And stop me if you want to talk about more practical things. This is definitely on the philosophical side, but.
No, this is key. This is key because we can't produce a date and put it on our website and tell our interested parties, this date is what we're trying to hit and these are these features, without this very basic burn down chart ability. We can generate burn down charts that look pretty good just using GPT-4. So long as we've got the Stuckloop in place, we can make really nice burn down charts, and people can fucking chat with them. Because they're like, hey, why isn't this not that?
The thing the burn down chart doesn't, and this is why I never really liked it. I mean, it's good as a tool, but I never really liked it because there's no impact, there's no value there, right? If someone, you could be burning down all your tasks, that sort of thing, and at quite a low level. Okay, so everyone's happy because the velocity is X. And then someone comes up with one complete stopper, and you go, fucking hell, we need a pivot. It's not very good at incorporating.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not for that. It's not for discontinuous events. It's for
right.
It's for the basically, when you do fitting and turning in the metalwork industry, you're really just like you've got the bulk material. It's mostly machined, and you're fitting and just shimmying up little bits here and there. A burn-down chart's good for that. It's good for when it's the last stage of terminal guidance, where all the fucking fluffy stuff, like what are we doing and who's paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. When there's some variance between ideal and real, and you have a vague idea where you're going for, and the the reel can knock you off up and down. You've got it on this chart here.
Yeah.
That's all fine. But what it doesn't capture is someone using the CRM and trying to run a white supremacist group, which gives off a
yeah.
whole
So right,
other-
but yeah. So
Yeah.
that's different, and we can account for that differently. There will come a time soon where we can say, first of all, we are in the rising edge of what will eventually become the burn down chart that leads us to delivery. And from that rising edge, we'll be able to make statements about where we think the crescendo is.
Yeah.
And then once we're at crescendo, we're like, okay, we're on burn down. Burn down means there's a deadline coming. Because,
yes,
right?
yes, I agree.
And that's what we can start to commit to people. And once you have that, you can lock onto it, and you can push other things in your life aside to get to that point, because you're like, we're going to ditch this feature, that feature, this feature. We need this, that, and the other thing. And
Right, and it's
people get on board with you, and they help you because they want to see you get to the finish line, because half the problem of our fucking journey through the wilderness here has been like, where is the finish line? Here,
No,
we can finally fucking see it, and a lot of people want to help us get there.
Yeah, no, I think it probably purely articulated because it's a half thought, but reference the conversation we had at the start of today's session when we're talking about impact, and being able to project potential impact. So if burndown chart is all about hitting an endpoint, stable endpoint production. It does a very good job of that, and what we've been talking about actually mirrors that very well. But what we've also got is the potential to add in this idea of impact. Now, impact can be a stuck. If someone comes, because stucks are essentially a demand that's not been met. Now, if someone comes up with a stuck, they're saying, "Shit, hadn't thought about that. We can use this widget, which was running kettles, and we can use it in jet airplanes."
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then we can project that impact on. So there's something in the data that we're capturing around impact that actually informs far more. So this answers the burndown answers the what you're going to get and when, roughly.
Yeah.
Taking into account some kind of chaos. But it's the total stucks. There might be a stuck there that it's like, fuck, didn't really think about that. But we can project forward the impact of that stuck, which might actually push out the end. They might say, well, actually, no, take twice as long.
Yeah. But it's like that is where the parallelization features in the Dreamcatcher kick in, because that stuck is not on the current, like you want to use the CRM for gold mining. That's not on the burn down for getting the CRM used in production for the trucking guys.
No, that's true. That's maybe not something they're worried about. But if you wrap it in what we've been saying about how it's being reusable, deduplicable, and by reusable that nobody's thought about, someone tries to use it or even states a stuck. I'd love to use this CRM for trucking, for air traffic control. Then there's something about, okay, so we can continue, with the main line and get you the thing that you want. However, at this point, you can fork and continue, and the two kind of interact, don't they? Because stuff in the initial fork can still contribute to the air traffic control, but the air traffic control might be 10x more valuable in terms of impact.
Right.
So I hesitate because it's a half-arsed idea, but there's something around adding impact into what we've been talking about in terms of stuck, in terms of
isn't adding the impact part of the ambient attribution stuff?
It is, but it's a subpart. In that impact is part of ambient attribution. But it's the modeling, it's the future modeling of value, of impact. I'll think about this some more, but there's, I guess, in this really shitty way, I'm trying to explain the thought that just came. There's an overlay. There's a view that we can use stocks in order to model high-value stocks that may not be possible even close to the burn down, because the burn down is all about getting something down.
Yeah, like get off the burnout. Like it's not. That's just one way to look at it. That doesn't constrain you at all. Stucks are their own thing. Burn down is just one way to look at it.
Right.
You want to look at it another way. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You want to make a different view.
Yeah.
No problem.
And so this comes down to the whole innovation thing. If there is a whole bunch of stucks in order to hit an end goal, so you've got the top level stuck, you've got all this hierarchy stucks, and there's a stuck there, right down in this, that actually has an impact elsewhere.
Yeah.
We can model the impact. Then suddenly we might want to just say, well, sod trucking, we want to be air traffic control because the USAF are going to.
Right, but what are you trying to say about like that's the feature of the Dreamcatcher that we're looking for? That's what we
No, what
be able to
saying
happen.
is there's we've been concentrating in this conversation about effectively a burn down. When can we get this set of features by when, and we'll get closer and closer. But by use, the generation of stocks, the real value of stocks is the, oh, that's odd, or couldn't we use this in this other area? That's
Yep. That's the
value.
whole point. That's the key point of what a stuck does in the Dreamcatcher. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it might be the case that that stuck is in order to hit the initial production target. It's like, there's no way we can do that. But actually, it might be the most valuable stuck in there.
Yeah, and if we hit a diamond while we're looking for gold, we'll definitely stop digging for gold and chase the diamond.
Well, that's your point. No, we don't need to do that because that assumes that we've got one vector. No, we fork and put it out there. Fork. It's like someone else go after the USAF, and we're going for trucking. And there's now a link between these stucks, which we should be able to.
And as we
impact. Yeah.
When it comes to attribution time, is that right?
Yes, because attribution is a subpart of. Impact is a subpart of attribution.
Impact is only necessary for attribution calculations, right? Not for contribution, because contribution is unrelated to impact, really.
Yeah, no, contribution is just the recording of events.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think I got what you meant correctly?
Yes. And sorry for the half-arsed way I said that, but it was the point I was making really is for the recording, so I can go back and listen to this again and take notes. But there is an interesting thing here about how do you stack rank stocks. The stack rank of stocks have two things. It's the impact on your what is production.
You can stack rank it any way you like. It's just that you can't know where the diamonds are until later. Like you don't know. That's the point, right? Like
yeah, which goes back to the start of the conversation when we're talking about how do you model impact. Okay, good. Sorry, that's a really half-arsed idea, but there's.
Oh, that's terribly explained. But it sounded like that's just the that's the core of the Dreamcatcher. Is that just because you discover a diamond, but you were on the job to look for gold, you shouldn't just throw the diamond away. You should.
That's exactly it.
You should be able to fork and do both. And as we start to get our capital stores up and get more people to help us, we can just like spot the diamonds and chuck money at it and be like, we don't have time right now. We'll leave some cash there and we'll broadcast it, and then that's as good as we can do because we only got so much time in a day.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to part of it is what I'm thinking about is how stocks need to be interlinked with forks, because you found a diamond, but you've got a truck and a whole bunch of spades. You need more spades.
Yeah, but that's a discoverability problem. Like that's
Yeah.
that is again a feature that is subject to the stuck loop, where the stuck loop is able to be used to build matching services between statements of assets and resources and stucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also be able to give you a view, in this kind of the multidimensional crystal view, saying we've got this
forecasting your impact,
happens.
simulating
It's
your
like,
impact, right?
we've found a diamond. Should I care about this, or does nobody care about diamonds? We're digging for gold. And get some kind of view about whether you should put, or
whether you should stop digging for gold and go chasing diamonds and the other thing, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Now one more
Thank
thing.
You for that. Yeah. That's for my benefit. Anyway, go ahead.
A question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How should contribution that didn't come in service of a stuck be treated? Or is it safe to say that either you can only use stucks are the way that you measure contribution, because otherwise what did you solve with the sort of the oddity or the special case being that if someone made a contribution and it was useful and we didn't have a stuck, we can retrofit or make a stuck retroactively.
Yes. Stuck should have some kind of event log, and the fact that we don't know what the attribution should come from a particular event, which is the contribution at the moment, doesn't mean
right.
Once
right. So we can retrofit stuck. So is it then true to say that all ambient attribution calculations have to be based on stucks? Because if you don't pick a unit,
what we're talking about now. Okay, let's test this. We've been talking about contribution as some kind of contribution log, but we've never really run to ground where a contribution event, let's for the sake of the next 30 seconds call it, should be, I think
it can only ever be it's only ever the resolution of a stuck, either
or the discovery of a stuck as well. So the stuck event log would be, hey, I've just popped out of nowhere,
right?
Because of
so ambient attribution is a function of stuck resolution consumption. Yeah.
The consumption of the result of a stuck, the stuck holding the events that took it from a stuck into a help, is the contribution record, isn't it?
Yeah, but the contribution record needs to be demarked between stucks because the consumption unit is stuck, right? And the contribution is gradual or continuous almost. It's got git commits, but it's like
we're coming up to this. We've skirted around this issue.
This is the issue of where to quantify it, where to put the packet size of what contribution is, and I think it has to be. I think we should go out on a limb and just make it be stucks, because
I suspect we need to come down to one. Well, we've talked about this a couple of times, haven't we? So the barrier between, or the delineation between helps and stucks is pretty wafer thin, because a help is like something you can pull off the shelf and use and consume, and therefore has some kind of consumption event. But number one, the stuck has all the information about that help came to pass, but also as soon as someone uses that, and generates the stuck based on that,
the stuck doesn't need to have the record of how the help was made. The stuck has a record of how the stuck came to be made, but the help can be independent. At some point arbitrarily in the future, the two appeared and fused together, where someone accepts that help as resolving that stuck.
Then? I mean, are they actually independent? Because
Yeah, they
a
don't.
help assumes some. Well, a help is like
I think that a help
a
always
release.
needs to have a stuck, but it can at any point serve more than one stuck. So a help is created with an origin stuck, where the origin stuck may actually come after the inception of the help. So you're like thinking there,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
often you come up with a solution and you got no problem, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's where a help comes in, and you reverse engineer the stuck based on what the problem is, but it doesn't mean that that is the correct stuck for that help. You can go searching and you can find more.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, if you have a help, and bear with me on this one, you have a help, someone uses it for something novel, you've immediately got a stuck. Whether
Like because it fell short for some
it fell
reason.
short. It's like I tried to use this thing to find diamonds, and it found only gold.
Right.
And so the help is like a ephemeral thing where you could define it as a stuck that passes all its tests at any one time.
No, you got it. We've been over this a lot of times, and the conclusion was that a help needs to be an independent object. If you bind them up together, then you reduce the solvability of problems because you can't reuse something.
But what we were talking about is what's the kind of the core of the contribution log, which is the structure, which I agree with, by the way.
The core, well, the data structure of contribution is git commits for us for now.
Yeah,
and the unit around which we wrap a contribution has got to be it's got to be a stuck, because the stuck is how you consume things. You consume jitters by using or assembling stucks in various forms, and so when you pay your dues, they are paid out by the stucks you consumed.
Okay. In that case,
I don't feel like I'm getting a lot out of solving this problem now, because we're gonna hit it.
Okay, fair
right?
enough. Can I just put a note, a chit up on the wall then? I don't
Sure.
think we've got a clear enough differentiation between helps and stucks, but I do agree that the contribution log is a stuck thing. That seems sensible.
Attribution flows through stucks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How it gets processed after that, we're saying we're a little bit fuzzy on that, but it definitely goes consumption, stuck, and then other stuff.
Right. And my argument for future, but I'll not go into this now, is actually that helps effectively just a runtime version of a stuck that passes its tests.
No.
But I'm not going to go into it now. We'll stick that on the wall. That'll be a thing. We don't need to do that now because we're talking about stucks.
Yeah, and the thing that's going to define that is the data structure of how that shakes out, given all the different constraints that we've got. You're making a relationship between things that it's too early to say. They are two different things. Whether or not sometimes they're the same, I think probably not. But either way, the data structure will determine how that plays out exactly. And knowing it now doesn't really change much for us. I think we've found our target, and we're basically in burn down mode. Well, we're still actually in crescendo.
Burn up.
We're on in the rising edge still, but at least we know that the crescendo is coming, and it's coming soon. And when we hit the crescendo, that gives us our landing point in time for when the burn down hits the target, right?
There'll be more structure than we've
ever had, right? And we're about to release into production for a company using the fucking Stuckloop, which I think is a big damn deal.
It is.
So is that the Dreamcatcher? If we land that?
Yeah, I think it is.
With ambient attribution.
Well, ambient attribution is all about incentivization.
Yep.
But the stuck loop we just said encompasses contribution. So for now, I think it's just the stuck loop, and the first expression, the first instance of use of the stuck loop is the CRM.
And in the stuck loop, we can hook money up against, because we're like, well, here's all the stucks, and you want them burnt down. Well, they don't just burn themselves,
Right.
like put money in.
Yeah,
You want it
also,
to move.
hey, look at this. We've made this hatchet. Could do with sharpening and so on, but we've, chopped down this tree with it.
Yeah.
We can chop down other trees.
All right. And then that's the point where we're like, we can prove that the stuck loop can be used to effectively turn money into consumable software, which you can presume can be turned back into money more. That's the whole gimmick. And so that's worth investment. And then ambient attribution is really about warm fuzzy. Well, not warm fuzzy, sorry. It's more like long-term stable community.
Yeah, exactly. It's how do you avoid this whole loop of having to hire staff and tell them what to do and all that kind of stuff.
And that piece can be built using the stuck loop without ambient attribution. But the stuck loop with ambient attribution is an iterative improvement.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So back to your first question. I know what I've got to do in the short term, and it will produce a stuck bucket, let's say.
Okay, a stucky bucky.
Yep. My intention then probably be tomorrow. The second stuck bucket is when I start to try and run stuck test bots against the CRM, against the stucks that I've identified. And what I hope to do is get all fails,
right,
and then iterate back round. Probably being a bit messy and quite manual to start with, but that's okay. So
sweet.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm implementing the identity model that I've been laboring over for the last 2.5 weeks, and it's implementing well. I'm just,
instantly, and I didn't spend too much time. But what I did do is I played back that last recording. Like 1.25 speed. And I said I would come back with anything. I still think on second blush it looks pretty solid.
Okay, sweet. That's cool.
I can't fault it yet. I will keep on trying though.
Yep. But, okay. Well, I'm proceeding with implementation, and there's no issues throwing up in it. To have a guess at time, I think within the next day is sort of the feeling I get. Like it's really just it really is just a manual getting it in there. It goes pretty damn well, actually. Like it, and it's just dealing with the edge cases, and then it's looking fucking great. And so once I've got that, then I'll obviously tell you, but then I'll hook up, probably in another half day, I'll hook up the actual GitHub logins, and then you can use Howl in free mode, which, shush, don't tell anyone, will be exactly the same as paid mode, but you can also log in, and that will allow you to retrieve your previous sessions, and that's the whole.
Right. Yes, that's the big thing,
right?
That's
the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, but also the retrieval of previous information.
Yeah.
And the second thing is having a bot kick off another bot.
We already have that. We already have bots kicking off other bots, and I've already put in the feature that allows you to reprogram using the bot which bot will be kicked off.
Perfect. Because you got those two things. This is we're going back a week or so, and we're saying really if we had bot commissions another bot, and has retrieval of some kind of persistent store.
Persistence,
Then everything I'm doing here, we just move over.
Right. And we just pick it up, thump, figure out the sort of bumps and stuff, and then we're good.
Yeah, good. It just asked me to use my desk. I don't know why. Right, cool, man.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was a good session.
Oh man, it's feeling like we're nearly there, man.
Yeah.
Fun
I'm really
times.
keen to see what this first CRM is in terms of using stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the